healing is strange. Because nobody tells you that sometimes your life feels more chaotic the moment you start becoming more aware. You start noticing things you used to ignore, patterns, people, tension in your body. The way you abandon yourself just to keep peace. And suddenly, the distractions stop working like they used to. The noise doesn't numb you anymore. The coping mechanisms start cracking. And for a while, that feels terrifying. Because now you can feel everything. Most people think healing means peace, comfort, clarity, lightness. But not at first. At first, healing feels like losing emotional anesthesia. Because, quite frankly, survival mode kept you distracted. Kept you busy, kept you reactive, kept you numb. But awareness slows everything down. And when things slow down, you finally hear what's been happening underneath all along. That's why some people feel more anxious after they begin healing. Not because healing failed, but because numbness is wearing off. And that realization alone changes everything. A man sits in his car after work, engine off, but he doesn't get out. 10 minutes pass, then 20. He just sits there, staring, because home doesn't feel restful anymore. It feels emotionally heavy. But here's the strange part. Nothing bad even happened that day. No argument, no crisis, no disaster, just exhaustion. The kind that sleep doesn't fix. And what he doesn't realize is his nervous system is finally collapsing under years of carrying tension it was never meant to carry. That's what happens when survival becomes identity. You forget what calm even feels like. This is why healing feels like falling apart. Because part of you actually is. Not the real you. The survival version. The mask. The hypervigilance. The people pleasing. The emotional armor. And your nervous system hates uncertainty. Even healthy uncertainty. So when old identities begin dissolving, your body interprets it as danger. That's why growth can feel like grief. You're not just changing behaviors. You're losing entire versions of yourself. And most people never realize this. They think they're failing when they're actually transitioning. But this is where everything changes. Because the moment you stop asking, how do I make this discomfort disappear? And start asking, what is this discomfort trying to show me? Your relationship with suffering changes completely. here's the path. Healing was never about becoming someone new. It was always about finally feeling safe enough to stop being someone you had to become to survive. And that realization alone, it does something to people. Because suddenly the anxiety makes sense. The exhaustion makes sense. The emotional waves make sense. Not as punishment and not as weakness, but as release. And once the nervous system realizes it no longer has to fight for survival every moment, something inside you begins to soften. But not all at once. Enough to breathe again. So let me ask you something. What if the breakdown was actually exposure? What if your exhaustion isn't proof you're weak, but proof you've been carrying too much for too long? Because most people, they never stop long enough to listen to themselves. They distract, scroll, consume, numb, and repeat. And years pass like that. A lot of years. But if you're still here, something in you already knows this. You know the old way isn't working anymore. You know you can't keep abandoning yourself just to survive. And maybe, for the first time, you're starting to understand that healing isn't becoming perfect. It's becoming honest. So stay with the series. Not because I have all the answers, because I don't, but because awareness changes people. In every video, another piece will connect. Another pattern becomes visible. Another layer will loosen. And one day you'll realize you're no longer surviving your life. You're finally inside of it.